That's why I got a limo out here a mile long filled with women waiting for me to go, woo! So the new year is almost upon us. It's December 28th, so maybe the 29th, whatever, we're close. Now, the Republicans just passed a big, beautiful tax cut for Christmas. Democrats are running around telling people that this great, big, beautiful tax cut really means there's a tax increase. That is a lie. Do you think the Republicans who want to keep their job passed a tax cut that increases taxes on millions of Americans? The people who made the law say it cuts taxes on 80% of the American people. But let's talk about the corporate tax rate for a minute. For the last 30 years, jobs have been fleeing America. They've been going to Mexico, they've been going to China. Why? One of the reasons is Mexico has a 25% corporate tax rate. Canada, 25% corporate tax rate. China, 20% corporate tax rate. Ireland, 12. America has a 35% tax rate. As of January 1st, 2018, we will have a 21% corporate tax rate. That gives us a competitive advantage. We're not better than the majority of the world, but we're about tied. Now the American worker can actually compete on a level playing field. For the last 3 decades, the Democrats and some Republicans, to be honest, have allowed American workers to be handicapped, discriminated against in the global workplace, because when the global corporate tax average is around 23% and we're at 35%, that means the American worker was losing jobs, losing money. Thanks to Trump and the Republicans, we are now slightly below the global average. Trump wanted 15, we ended up getting 21. 15, I think they're going to come back to go get 15. But if you look at what's currently going on, the way things were in 2017, going all the way back to the early 90s, we were at a competitive disadvantage. Bill Clinton, not Hillary, signed NAFTA, which opened a free trade zone between Canada and Mexico. What did the Canadians and the Mexicans quickly do? They lowered their corporate tax rate 10% below ours. Canada has a 25% tax rate. You make it in Canada, you sell it in America. If you make it in Canada, the profit margin is 10% higher just because Canada has a 10% lower corporate tax rate. Mexico lowered their corporate tax rate. That means that making it in Mexico is 10% more profitable than making it in the United States. And we had open borders. Make it in Mexico, make it in Canada, ship it in here, pay the lower tax rate, and we're dumb enough to let you. If you don't believe me, when you go to McDonald's, ask yourself, where is McDonald's located? I think of McDonald's as an American company, but they're not. They move to Canada because Canada has a 25% corporate tax rate. That means McDonald's is now headquartered in Toronto because they want to save money. McDonald's exists to make money, and if they can up their profits by 10% by moving to Toronto, they did it. They may move back because now America is 4% cheaper than Canada. Part two, America and Zimbabwe are the only two countries on earth that used to tax global profits. What does that mean? I'll explain it to you. If you sell something in Canada and you pay the 25% Canadian tax, America wants the 10% difference. So everything you make in the world, you have to pay 35% on, minus whatever tax you paid in that country. So in Ireland, it's a 12% corporate tax. So American company sells something in Ireland, they pay the 12% tax in Ireland, they owe America the difference between 35%. Canada, they owe the difference between 25 and 35. If you sell it in China at 20, you owe America 15%. We're the only country in the world that did that. That drove trillions of dollars outside the United States. No responsible business person would not only pay the highest tax in the world, but then pay the only global tax in the world besides Zimbabwe. So you were stupid. You were being abused in the United States. Democrats are abusive towards business and abusive towards the successful, i.e., the rich. Remember, Democrats' greed kills the jobs we need. And the Democrats have been manufacturing out of America for years. What did Trump do during the election? He told Ford that they better not try to move the Ford Focus and the Ford Fusion to Mexico because they were going to close the American plants and move it to Mexico. And he told them not to because he was going to tax the hell out of them. He was going to tax all the profits out of that car if they dared fire Americans to hire Mexicans. And guess what? They didn't do it. He saved thousands of jobs at Ford because of that. He's also saved hundreds of thousands of jobs even before the tax cut. 2018 is going to be an economic boom. 19 and 20 are going to be the same, in my opinion. Why? Because we now have a competitive tax cut. The Democrats can no longer discriminate and punish American workers because having the highest corporate tax rate is a form of discrimination against the American worker. If you're a black man in the ghetto who's functionally illiterate and you need a job, and it's McDonald's or a factory job. Wait a minute. All the factory jobs moved to Mexico. All the factory jobs moved to Canada. All the factory jobs moved to China. Now those factory jobs are going to come back. You could be a high school dropout. You could have a nonviolent felony. And in a Trump America, you're going to be able to get a factory job, hopefully, for 50, 60 grand a year with benefits. And as long as we don't allow the tax code in America to become uncompetitive again, then we'll be in a position to maybe that job will last 20, 30, 40 years because that factory will stick around. If those factories start closing, my first culprit would be, did Canada cut its taxes? Did Mexico cut its tax rate? Did the Chinese undercut us? What's happening in the global market? But when you look at the global market for the last 30 years, we've allowed ourselves to be, we weren't even in the race. We didn't even talk about global tax rates. We didn't talk about what our competition was doing. We were just like, oh, those jobs are gone. They're never going to come back. Why are they never going to come back? Because we're never going to cut anybody's taxes because we're a communist based system of class envy. We envy the rich, we envy successful businesses, and if we're abusive to them and we drive them away to a country that's nicer to them, so what? You're unemployed, you can go on welfare, but we are not going to do what it takes to get those factories to stay and to get those factories to come. That was yesterday. That was pre-Trump. We now have Donald Trump. Donald Trump is fighting for every factory, for every job. He's lowering the tax rates, getting rid of the regulations that drive businesses away. He's fighting for every American job. That's something nobody's seen since Reagan. That is a huge, huge deal. Now, preferably, America will be the economic engine of the world. Under Barack Obama, we lost the number one economy in the world to China. It wasn't solely Barack's fault. It was heading that way under Bush. It was heading that way under Clinton. But one thing Barack never did was he never appeared to fight for it. He never tried. He never looked like he wanted to hold on to the title of the number one economy in the world. Trump wants the number one economy in the world back. Let me give you. Let me drop some knowledge on you. Over the majority of the last 10 years, China's had a 20% corporate tax rate, and they grow at about 6.7 to 7.5% annually. Over the last 10 years, part of Bush, all of Obama, we've been growing at 1.9%. That means Canada, or sorry, not Canada, but China has been growing 3 times faster, more than 3.5 times faster than the United States. That means millions of more jobs per year for the Chinese people and not the American people. If you really cared about the minorities, the poor and the middle class in the United States, you'd want to bring back millions and millions of factory jobs. A job where you don't need a college degree. A job where maybe you screwed up and dropped out of high school and now you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s. You're not going to go back and get your GED and get yourself a coding job. You're not going to be a scientist. What you are doing is trying to stay out of jail. Maybe you got a felony. Maybe you had a drug problem in high school, dropped out, got arrested, did a little time. Now you're back out on the street. Where are you going to work? McDonald's? You're going to go back to hustling, or maybe we can attract more factory jobs. Maybe you can go in and get a $50,000 a year job making something, whether it's the next iPhone, whether it's the next TV, whether it's whatever. We can make stuff in the United States. The idea that Americans won't work is bullshit. The idea that Americans can't make anything of value, whether it's a TV, whether it's a phone, whether it's the laptop I'm doing this on, is ridiculous. That's a bunch of liberal bullshit, and the fact that they won't lower the taxes to give you a competitive chance. We have now lowered the taxes and gave the American worker a competitive chance, and I think the American economy is going to take off because of it. Because on a level playing field where we're not handicapped, where we're not disadvantaged because of democratic hate and greed, I think the American worker can compete with anybody. But when you put them 10 points in the hole, or 15 points in the hole against China, 10 points behind the Mexicans, 10 points behind the Canadians, and almost, was it, 18 points behind the Irish. No, it was more than 20 points behind, 23% behind the Irish. You're never gonna win when you start 10 points down, 15 points down to the Chinese, 23% points down to the Irish. How can you make that up? You can't. It's just, it's not fair. You may win some of them, but why put yourself in that big of a hole? The Democrats put us in that big of a hole. In addition, please remember that when you hear Democrats talk about, oh, it's a tax cut for the rich, it's a tax cut to create jobs. They don't talk about the poor people that tax cut is going to end up helping. They don't talk about the middle class person that might get a raise, a bonus, or might get offered a better job. They're not talking about the poor person who's unemployed or currently working at McDonald's in their 20s, 30s, or 40s who could get a $50,000 a year factory job. That's the reason you cut corporate taxes. It's not to give this big tax break to the rich. It's to attract factories and jobs to America so poor and middle class people can have a job. If you care about people getting a job, lower the corporate tax rate. And that's what we've done. But when you hear the envy, the communist level of envy, and that's what it is, it comes straight from the Communist Manifesto. I encourage everybody listening to this to go out and read the Communist Manifesto. And if that's too big of a burden for you, go out and read the 12-point goals of the Communist Manifesto. Progressive tax code to punish people and businesses that make money. The progressive tax code is an income fine. The more income you make, the bigger the fine you pay. Another goal of the Communist Manifesto is to destroy the traditional family. That's why welfare doesn't allow you to have a working man in the family, because communism wants to destroy the American family, or not the American family, but any family with a father in it. The reason for that is Karl Marx didn't have a father in his house, therefore you shouldn't have a father in your family either. That's why fathers are punished in the court system. That's why fathers are punished in the welfare system. That's why we're trying to destroy the nuclear family. Don't believe me? Just go read the 12 points of the Communist Manifesto and look around. Take the morality out of it. That can't be why they're doing it. No, just take morality out of it and look at the world as it is. And as it is, you can go check progressive tax code, check destruction of the conventional family, check the attempt to destroy private land ownership. The majority of what's in the Communist Manifesto is coming through today in the United States, and it's negative for us. Part two, we're not even debating it, which we should. Do you want to live in a country where the goals of the Communist Manifesto are a reality? The Democratic Party are ran by communists, and they manipulate the useful idiots, which are the media, and the useful idiots, which are the regular Democratic voter. I'm Tim. I'm pro tax cuts. I love Trump. Thank you, Donald Trump and the Trump family, for our big, beautiful tax cuts. God bless the United States of America. And if you like what you hear and see, click subscribe. And remember, whether you love me or hate me, tell everyone about me. Share this. Blog about it. Bitch about it. Love on it. Hate on it. Don't care. I know I'm the best thing going today. So come on out and tell your friends about it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button.